Hello, y'all. Hello, you guys. My name is Stephen Payne. Today, we're going to be breaking down the Shield and talking about some reverse values as it pertains to that. I'm a longtime fan of the show, longtime viewer. But today, that's kind of we're going to be talking about something a little bit different. And like I said, that's reverse values. I'm here with my partner as well. Um,
Thank you. Yeah, I'm Alex Salter. I'm here in the UK. The reversal of values was something I suggested because Vic, as our pro and antagonist, is giving us. We adopt his values early on, despite them being somewhat, well, very despicable ones. And like Stefan, I'm a long time veteran watcher of the Shield. Total geek. I love it. I'm a
yes, yes.
big lover of the show.
Yes, yes, definitely. So yeah, together we're pretty much gonna, we're gonna break this thing down together. As I discussed, with Alex, whether Vic protagonist or antagonist,
Mm.
hero or anti-hero, and I think it's pretty obvious, as we come to find out, what the answer is. But you were kind of gonna ship. We're gonna dissect, dissect that answer into, why that is it, why it is what it is.
Yeah, and I think we're only really. I would go with anti-hero totally, but I can only. I've only got that conclusion after 7 seasons. You know, I, it's
Right. Yes. Hindsight, as they call it.
yeah,
It's
yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, as we said before, in season one, you're totally with the guy, and you're totally loving what he's doing, and it's only slightly. Oh yeah, maybe that's I think, and I would say that's something kind of hypocritical in human nature. It's only when we start seeing the kickback, and we start saying, oh, maybe not. It's maybe there's a negative kickbacks to what these people like Vic do, that we start saying, oh, maybe I don't want to be like this guy.
right, right, right. Like I said, that yeah, that hindsight, it's but in the moment, of course, everything is okay. We rationalize it, rationalize it like, huh, okay, well, now he's dragging a suspect by the car, but that's okay though, because he's got to save this little girl, you know, and it's kind of it's interesting to watch, knowing this, from an audience standpoint, from a fan, or from a viewer. I'm sorry, from a viewer standpoint, you
Mm.
know, this is wrong, but you just kind of make up the excuses, much like the people around Vic, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, absolutely, and it's explained away because we don't want to confront those uncomfortable issues ourselves. And I want to dive straight in because we've in our discussions we've had so far with the unrecorded ones. Like I pointed out to you early on when I said about Shane's obviously the earliest co-conspirator to Vic in his murder of Terry, the earliest crime we witnessed, and I pointed out to you that I it's only later on we find out that everyone else doesn't know that the other members of
Right,
the team
right,
that.
right, right.
And I mean, it did kind of click to me. It did and didn't click to me that obviously from the layout of how everyone was, the Lemon Ronnie disappeared down the hallway, and it's just Vic and Shane stood there. And it's just, yeah, they're the only ones who actually bear physical witness to that murder. And I pointed out to you that because we're kind of given Shane as like the fall guy or all through, that he's letting the team down always. He's always, everyone kind of like, oh, not Shane again. Shane's got us into trouble. When I pointed out, well, hang on a minute, Vic's always on the other guy's case to dig Shane out of whatever latest hole he's got into. And I said, yeah, but really, all along, Shane's got the potential to put Vic in the frame for Terry's murder. So when he's digging Shane
Yeah,
out of holes, he's saving his
yeah,
own ass as opposed
yeah.
to committing an act of kindness.
No, definitely. There's actually, a spoiler alert, you guys, as well. It's probably should have put this as a disclaimer,
Mm.
but spoiler alert, definitely. Um, But there's actually a part, once again, in that season 4, episode 3, where Vic is trying to talk Shane into coming back. You know, I think he goes to the house and he visits Mara, and he's basically telling him, you can come back. And Shane says, well, I'm having fun not being under your watch. You know, I can do my own thing. And Vic tells him, you can still do your own thing. You know, you can get more hours, blah, blah, blah. So again, this is kind of the manipulation of Vic, because the actuality is kind of what you just said about the whole Terry thing. Vic wants to keep that leash on Shane. You know, he doesn't want him to get too far, because he has that. He has all that dirt on him. He has all that shit on him. You know, Terry. I mean, should we go on and on, man? The portfolio. You know.
Yeah, very dark. Also, it's like he knows Shane well enough to know that deep down, should Shane get his back to the wall bad enough, there's a good possibility he's going to trade him in. He still would.
I actually had it. I had it in some notes too, man. I'm cheating, man, but I shoot, it's 7 years of show, man. So no shame in jotting some of this down. But it was pretty much with Lim talking to the team, or I'm sorry, Vic talking to the team, to Lim and to Ronnie. And Vic says, he was ready to go to jail after Mara almost killed Tavon. And he has a new kid on the way. You'll be surprised what you'll do for your kids. I actually just butchered that, man. That was a whole nother segment. That was a whole nother topic I had. That was a topic regarding foreshadowing. But we can take from that. Though. Pretty much Shane. What I want to say. We can pretty much take from that, just Shane, who Shane really is. Oh shoot, man, I lost topic what he was saying. Damn.
About the liability that Shane was all along.
Yeah, the liability. Yeah, Vic, like I said, going down to the house, pretty much talking to him. He knows, he pretty much knows what he's doing. And Shane bites. He takes the bait. He says, well, he thinks he's outsmarting Vic. Okay, well, I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna go do this though. But it's like, Vic is already 2 steps ahead. There's no, the whole plan was just to get him back. And yeah.
And also, I mean, I broached the subject as well. That, I mean, it's something that occurred to me during the watching of it. The Vic's relationships with people are highly abusive, and I've cited one was like his behaviour towards Corinne is something, it doesn't. I mean, people would say, oh well, he's not physically abusive, he doesn't hit her, but it's the psychological abuse. The way he pursues her and the way he exercises that psychological control. He does the same thing to Shane also, and that's something you kind of, because I said at the end of season 1, like she's kind of like, she doesn't know what a prison she's in until she tries to move almost, like when it becomes, when the heat steps up with Gilroy and she ends up, he says, basically just do as I told. Get your bags, go. And she says at that point, she even says, I'm not your prisoner. Where she kind of crosses over and becomes exactly that.
Yeah. No, definitely that's a different that's an interesting take on that as well. Yeah, I think a lot of that was psychological. As far as Corinne, I mean, with Shane, I think Shane was more shit. You know what? I think Shane was more of, I think some of that was fear. It was fear, and we saw it a couple of times. We saw it in the first. It was the first season. I don't know if it was the first episode. It was the second episode. Where they're at the funeral, and Shane's starting to break down, and Big, Shane says we killed a cop, And Vic says, you know, what do you say? He said, forget about it, don't ever mention it, you
Yeah,
know. And it's
don't
kind
bring it
of
up.
like, yeah, you know, there's normally when you you know, there's normally I don't want to say consequence, man, but you know, it's kind of like you kind of get the impression that Vic was willing to take. I may be reaching, maybe I'm reaching, but you know, Vic was, you know, willing to take out Shane if need be. You know, if he thought that he couldn't, if he thought he was gonna put under pressure.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
and it's that the nature of the relationship as well. Like he dictates how he's allowed to feel, how he's, he keeps him in a very tight box. You know, and go on, sorry.
yeah, no, I was gonna say well, there's that, and then the other time too was in it was season 7 or maybe it was 6 where Vic was talking to Mara, and you know he threatened Mara. Remember he rubbed the child's hair and stuff, and
Mhm.
then Shane goes back, or yeah, Mara goes back and tells Shane, and you know she's like, yeah, he scared the hell out of me, and then Shane's like, well, what did you tell him? And then I forget what she said, but oh yeah, she said that we have nothing to hide or some shit. And then you know Shane just kind of freaks out. He's like, man, he said, do you know who this man is? Do you know what he's done? You know what I mean? It's like, oh shit,
Yeah.
I kind of forgot what he's done, you know. So I think that was brilliant writing right there, you know, just to kind of remind the viewers, you know, that you know who the real, you know, who the real monster, the boogeyman is, so to speak. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, and then
Um,
those indirect threats that are more sinister, I find, than the direct ones. Like you say, he's stroking the boy's hair in that kind of, it's like he's suggesting, well, it's him you want to think about. I can hurt him. That's what
I,
he's saying without saying. Like, and he says later on to Kavanaugh, well, you think I'm a cop killer? Maybe I am. You're a cop. It's
yeah. Oh, he did say that, right? So
it's
yeah, man, it's um, so you know, this, you know, taking it from the beginning, man, you know, reverse values, you know, with Vic Mackey, you know, what is it, and when exactly is it that we just kind of just say, hey, the hell with it, man. You know, we're riding with this guy, man. You know, he could pretty much, hell, man, he could. I don't, hey, you know, he could do whatever at this point, man. You know what I'm saying? And we're gonna give him a pass on that shit, you know. So, excuse me, give him a pass on that. So, I think that too is kind of interesting, you know, viewers as well. You know, when was it for the viewers? You know, when did we finally say, hey, we're okay with all of this?
well. I mean, it's like I say. I mean, I was surprised, like, because I know comments I've made on videos out there. There's not very much anti-Vic sentiment. Like, like you're one of the few people I know that does, as seems to be like, shit, this guy is a fucking arsehole, and looks at him like, and I've got to the way of thinking over time as I rewatch the show, thinking, no, you keep watching and thinking, no, what's the next step into the dark side that he would be willing to take? And now I'm thinking, there's probably not much he wouldn't do.
Hey, hey, and that's why, you know, and that's another reason why, you know, I was just so enthusiastic about doing this, man. Why I wanted to do this video, because I vouched for him for so long. You know, he's been my dude, my guy for so long. You know, well, yeah, man. You know, even after this, you know, with Ronnie and the whole bit, it was still I still I found I was mad, but found excuses. But you know, after, you know, reviewing everything, man, and it's just, you know, I've kind of realized, you know, who he really is, and you know, it's just his true, you know, his true nature, I guess. And just like you just said, you know, what will he not do? You know, like what's the limit?
Mm. No, it's right, and I think everyone everyone sees that over time. Like I said, he seems to have two ways of like with the men like he interacts with. He seems to like kind of take them under his wing and kind of like he's this uncle to them that like he's teaching them the ropes, and then like with women he's kind of like he seduces them, and then he's like I said, I've said, you know, when Danny gets involved with him, at first she gets involved with him and she's kind of like, yeah, you know, I'm enjoying this. And then once she's had a kid with him and he's started, you know, she starts getting a taste of what an arsehole he really is. Her attitude's gone like shit, you know, like I'm stuck now with this guy potentially for another 18 years.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not having fun anymore, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not fooling around, you know, screwing someone else's husband and it's, you know, it's all fun.
Yeah. Well, yeah, were they married? Well, I guess that's we yes, yeah. Right. Well, yeah, so shoot, yeah, there's that too, man. You know, there's just so many different, and you know, too, I thought about this, man. We just pretty much took every, you know, just all the shit, man, that Vic is dead and made like a highlight reel, man. We'd probably just say, like, damn, all right, you know, this is you know, but it's so entwined into his personal life, into his autistic children, you know, with him, you know, helping people out on the side, you know.
And
Yeah.
I want to try and keep it, like, you know, we'll keep it mainly on season 1, but you can't get a taste of really who he is, you know, without obviously the other seasons. You know, if you judge.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. You're right. Yeah. I mean, shoot, man, season 1, I mean, I think it was kind of, we knew who he was, and I guess maybe the other seasons kind of were to finesse us, you know, kind of finesse the audience, so to speak. But yeah, this, you know, season 1, you know, we see him, you know, of course we see with Terry, you know, we see pretty much, I have to go back. Was that, had Gilroy started to turn? I can't remember if Gilroy had turned yet.
I mean, a thing that's worth pointing out is the end of season 1 when Gilroy is exposed or begins to come apart. He says to Vic, "I've been DUI something like 3 or 4 times in the last year." He goes, you know, he goes, "No one's going to believe I wasn't drunk if I run someone down," you know. But you think like in the when you get that flashback episode back to the in season 2 to the co-pilot, you think, well, he's probably had at least one DUI by then. And
Yeah.
you know, so in which case, you know, you've got a couple of highway patrolmen who've run his plate and gone, oh shit, that's, you know, that's the assistant chief. Oh fuck, you know, oh, what do we do? You know,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it happens in jobs where you're like, oh, you know, it's not just anyone I'm pulling up.
Yeah, this is the, you know, yeah, like you said, the assistant chief. You know, this is the big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely it's definitely interesting, man. As far as again, all the stuff he's done, you know, in that first season. Trying to think too. I don't know if, yeah, I think that's season 2 as well. Can you recall, do you recall like a specific moment like in in the first season that was kind of equivalent to like what he did to Terry? You know, as far as I can tell you everything else from, you know, I'm trying to think what else we saw from his character.
Gilroy.
You know, we did see it. We saw it. Shoot, man, we saw it firsthand when you know, when first he said he was responsible. You know, he said he was responsible in the parking lot, and you know, he was kind of trying to feed out that guilt. But it's like, you know, all right, man.
Oh,
We know
Vic.
you don't.
Well, there's an actual name for that. They call it a mass confession. You
There,
know,
yeah, mass confession. Okay.
you know, when
Yeah.
like psychos basically admit without admitting, you know, he's like trying to feign some guilt in front of everybody and go, oh, you know, it's all my fault. I feel terrible, you know. When he,
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. No, you're right. And I think the him and Han, as far as like why we question it too, because it goes back to Terry, you know, that first or the second episode or whatever, they're at the funeral. And again, you know, Shane, you know, he kind of walks off. and he kind of starts breaking down, and I think Shane says something like, I didn't know his mom and his brother or his mom and his family were going to be there. And Vic says, okay, he had a mom and a brother, so what? You know what I mean? And it's like, damn, you know how this dude is pretty cold hearted. But then, you know, for me right then and there, I kind of looked at it as, all right, well, this dude Terry really was he was for the worst, you know, really was, you know, he was the antagonist, you
Yeah.
know. Just as long as Vic doesn't do this to anyone else, you know, it's okay. You know what I'm saying?
And
So
then well, how much are you being asked to excuse in that case? Which of course he does. He does go on to do it to lots of other people, doesn't he?
lots of yeah, he does that. Yeah, he does that to other people and stuff, man. You know, so yeah, it's kind of interesting, man. You know that, and again, that's for me at least. You know, that's kind of why I rationalize some of the. You know, I made it okay that he killed Terry.
Yeah, and on the subject of rationalising, you know, it's interesting just to think to yourself. He's had to get Shane on side leading up to killing Terry. What conversations what techniques has he used to say, to, you know, to rationalise it to Shane, who's to say, oh, you know, we have to do it. You know, there's no other way. You know, Shane's not really on side of killing him, really, is he? He's not for it. He does it. He goes along with it, but he feels plenty guilty. He's traumatized by doing it. Seems to feel bad about doing it. So what technique has Vic you know what he must have worked on him leading up to it in a few weeks.
Oh, and I don't even know, because I think that's what makes Shane Shane. I think that's what makes Shane the monster that he is, or you know, that he became or whatever, because I don't think it took much convincing. You know, I think it wasn't until he actually did what he did, or when he, you know, they actually did it, that's when reality kind of set
Yeah,
in, like, oh fuck, you know. Oh, you know,
yeah, and I think Shane's guilt is fueled more by the fact he thinks I might get caught. That's more the fuel, more fuel than feeling bad about doing it. I think he's more terrified of getting caught, whereas Vic is more arrogant enough to think he gets away with it. He knows he can get away with it because, like in an institution like the police, he probably thinks no one wants to look into that. You know, no one wants to ask the question. You know, was the guy leading the team actually the killer of another cop? And you know, if so, for what reason? Because it's easier just to everyone say, oh well, he was killed in the line of duty, case closed, end of discussion, have his funeral, story in the paper, done. You know, no one wants to ask the really awkward questions, do they? You
no,
know,
no, 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 yeah.
and that's how Vic knows he can get away with it, that's like the relationship between Shane and Vic is Vic knows he can get away with stuff, and he takes Shane along to get away with stuff. Shane keeps getting away with it, and that makes him worse, you know, and which is what he says, isn't it? We made each other worse,
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, going back to what you were saying, I think though, I do think Shane did. Man, jeez, you know, we got, hey, we're gonna do that next, man. That'll be the next thing. We're gonna break down Shane, man, because Shane is
Yeah, he's interesting enough on his own.
he's really interesting, man. If you think about it, because you're saying that you think that he was more worried about getting caught, but I think that pretty much I think he did have a heart in it, man. Just like I said at the funeral, you know, he wasn't saying, he didn't bring up, and I'll go back and watch it, but I don't remember him bringing up, what did they find us? You know, he was bringing up his family. You know, his family is there. You know, he's got I don't know, his mom was going to be there, and maybe there's nothing there, but I think that's one of the fewer times you see Shane kind of I don't want to say folding, but kind of breaking. In other words, you know.
Well, I suppose that's what you see, he's not quite the psychopath that Vic is. You know, he's
Right.
got
Yeah.
a
Maybe
emotion
there's,
like the
there's
Vic has.
levels. There's levels to this, I guess.
Mm,
To the psychopath stuff. There's levels to it.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. Yeah. So, um, yeah, I guess maybe it's just a classic case, and maybe one is just nuttier than the other. You know.
Mm.
You know. Um. but I do, and like I said, we say that for another time. But I do think Vic did start the he kind of morphed him. He morphed him. He changed. He
Mm,
changed Shane. Of course for the worse,
mm.
but you can't say that, without saying that Shane was also who he was as well. He wasn't the best of people, obviously.
No, people like Vic, I find they always need people, like they take like I forgot what's a good word, like little helpers like Shane, like
Under the
they're
wing,
not
take him under
terribly
the wing.
bright, but they enjoy it. Like Shane seems to enjoy the power he feels through Vic, and like he's like, and Vic obviously uses him to do stuff that someone with any sense would be like, I'm not doing that. Well, that's
Yeah,
stupid, you know.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, man. Well, like you said, man, just keeping it at with the season one. Do you know exactly where it was that and maybe it wasn't season one, but do you know if it was? Do you know when in season one where you started vouching for Vic? Or
I
yeah,
was a little younger when I watched it. I think I vouched for him. I liked him straight away. So like, I just thought,
yeah,
yeah. I was a lot younger then. So I think it's like as you get older and it's more responsible, and you start. But I think I'd be better to say where I started disliking Vic. I think I started disliking him probably around season 4 when he teamed up with Rawlin. I really didn't like him. I didn't like him much in season 3. Was a bit of a trough, like a bit of a downer. But I found when he got teamed up with Captain Rawlin, he become like she like they were just like exercising raw power. I found just like crashing the coal community, persecuting people. I mean, Antoine obviously isn't. I've got a good guy, but the regular people on the ground, tearing people out of their homes, and you know they're just using, which is just a ruthless exercise of power. I found.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, definitely, definitely. You talking about Rawlings, right?
Yeah, yeah. By season 4, I didn't like him. By season 4, I'd start to dislike him. And by season 5, like I mean, Kavanaugh wasn't. I felt Kavanaugh was doing the right thing when he came along. As much as I didn't want to see everyone necessarily go, I didn't want to so much see Lem and Ronnie go down. Like I felt bad that Lem had got caught, and but I felt that the consequences were due for all the crimes that they'd done.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, maybe I may be speaking too much for myself here, man. Like, and I probably should have stated this at the beginning. We were doing our introduction about ourselves, but hey, I'm a veteran watcher of the show. However, my first episode, with him killing Terry, I couldn't watch the show. I missed out on. I actually stopped watching it then and there. I came back. I believe it was season 2, and then of course I caught the reruns and stuff, and got caught up. But I didn't like how he was just. I felt like he just shot someone, and okay, this guy's a cop. He just shot another cop. All right, he can do whatever he wants. Like what kind of writing is this? It wasn't a visual effect. I wasn't disturbed visually, but it seemed like too easy of a storyline, too easy of a plot, to kind of get behind. Um, and then of course, I thought that he was just a total bad guy. Like there's no balance. It's just he's a bad guy and there's no balance. So I didn't really care to watch the show. And of course, I would come back to watch the show, and for me, I think, yeah,
Yeah,
we'll probably have to touch back on that because for me, it was season. I think it was probably the second season, where I started get behind it, backing up Vic. You know, um, but that first season, I was kind of on edge too. Like, all right, yeah, this guy. I know he's a bad guy, but I wonder what else what else is he gonna do? He's not a total,
It's like he was vicariously enjoying the power yourself a little.
Yeah, it reminded you of Training Day a little bit for a second, you know, for a little bit. You know, like this guy's a bad guy, but he's interesting though. Let's see where else this can, you know. And then it's like, oh shoot, I kind of like this dude, you know. So it's kind of like it's that finesse, man. You know, the audience or finesse or correct, yeah, whatever, finesse.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it and you know, hey, you know, again, you know, viewers out there, you know, it'd be interesting, you know, to hear, you know, different people's opinions, you know, who've watched the
Yeah.
show, you know.
Yeah. Like I say, there's a lot of pro Vic sentiment out there, so I'm sure there'll be plenty of people who disagree. But that's, you know, obviously that's their right to do so.
Absolutely, that's why we're here, man. That's the whole point, you know.
Yeah, no, that's the best part is when people go, "Oh no, you're wrong for this, and this reason," and you're like, "Oh," and you know, sometimes you can look at it and go, "Oh, I never thought of this or this that you're pointing out." That's the best part.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
and I mean, one thing I wanted to say, like about because I feel like a show like The Shield, like you don't get too many of, we don't get anything like it now, but like it poses those intelligent questions. Like I said, it poses like psychological, sociological questions, philosophical questions. Like I thought, you know, like there's a question like of faith there in the sense of, uh, you know, people putting their, you know, because people say about, I'll just go a bit off topic here, but people say about not believing in God, right? And I sort of say, well, not necessarily, but you don't necessarily have to believe in God, but faith is a real thing because people put their faith every day in the wrong thing. So faith is a palpable and real thing. You know,
Yup, yup.
you know, in the stock market's based on faith. You know, people have faith in something or don't, and then it collapses or goes up and down. You know, based on faith. You know, so faith is definitely a real thing, even if even if God isn't. Faith is a real thing, and that's so you have proof of faith, if nothing else, don't you? You know, because
Yeah,
you can definitely see how it can be misused.
definitely. Yeah, yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. I definitely agree with that. But yeah, faith, and I think that's how I think the team had, you know, the strike team. I mean, had maybe too much faith in Vic. I mean, obviously, you know, well, there's so many examples, man. We could, you know, we could go down the list. Man, it's so hard not to like stir off into the you know season 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 because it's, I mean, obviously it's all connected, but it's just um how it's connected, man, and you know the cause and effect factor is just so interesting, you know. So
Mm.
I think we're kind of compelled to keep talking about the, you know, 2, 3, 4, but um
Yeah, we could stay on one. I mean, like you can talk about the sociological, like you said about touching on who Acevedo is, and I compared him to like politicians you got at the time. Like he's kind of I could compare it to like say Bill Clinton or Tony Blair. Like they're these that stable of these well presented politicians. You know, like I mean, you had George W. come along a little while just after. Well, he did come along in about 02, didn't he?
no, 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 definitely, definitely. And well, you what you said, and who?
George W. Bush come
Oh
after
yeah, yeah,
Clinton.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, Acevedo's kind of more comparable to someone like Clinton.
Right, 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 right. So then Rawlings came along. And Rawlings came.
Yeah,
You know, I guess
definitely compare it to Hillary Clinton.
I was gonna say Rawlings could have been the Bush, man, the Bush, but yeah,
Yeah,
maybe,
yeah.
you know, who knows? Maybe there's something
Yeah,
there with Hillary too. You
side, yeah,
know,
yeah, no,
um,
definitely, yeah. She was a scorched earth policy, definitely.
oh yeah, yeah. But you know, as far as Vic too, I think another thing I don't want to forget, that first season, his power. You know, he had, you know, we saw just, you know, the power that he had. You know, Vic. You know, we saw you know, his power on the streets. We saw his power, you know, with the higher ups, with you know, the assistant chief, with the chief. I think, yeah, with the chief, I believe. The chief. Um, I don't know. I don't. Oh man, I'm not sure if he had some pull with the feds and stuff, but we'll just keep it at, you know, with the chief, you know, just
Mm.
behind the scenes, you know, the police department, you know, through other. Remember, other officers and other unis, they respected Vic, so he had eyes to them as well.
Yeah. Like everyone's kind of doing his bidding on some level.
Yeah, on
So
some.
you can't. It's one of them things like you get in a lot of jobs where you can't do something without someone reporting it back.
Yeah, he
So
had a lot of. Yeah, out here we call it juice, man. He had a lot of juice. He had the juice.
yeah, yeah, and also I find as well like Michael Chiklis seems to be quite a good physical actor. Like in that scene where he shoots Terry, when I watch it now, I kind of more look at his body language. It's not just the actor shooting him; it's he's kind of that evil stare he's got. And I look watching it now. I kind of look at it as he's got the raw power that he's always wanted, and now he's like looking at this guy like, you're not getting in my way.
Yeah, and but yeah, you see that look.
Mm.
Yeah, he looks at him just like
It's just a cold, hard stare. You know.
yeah, like what? Like I don't know. Why'd you make me? Why'd you step on my tennis shoes, man? Why'd you scuff my shoes? Like, nah, man, you just murdered this man. Just like you said, just that whole physical,
Mm.
that
Like,
physical element.
another scene I pointed out, like when I said about the seizure policy later down the line, he's kind of like he does this kind of like thing where he's clutching the pillar in Rawlins' office, like he's so excited that he seems so excited that he's going to tear these people out of their house and fuck them up so badly. Like he's like,
Yeah, he definitely wasn't opposed to it, and you're right. I see why one wouldn't like him, at that point. Well,
because
yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
I was just going to say, like, it's as is usual the case with people like him. Someone else is always facing the consequences of their actions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yo, yeah. And you talking about what the people?
Well, people like Vic, like on that occasion, Rawlins is talking about implementing that seizure policy. She's thinking, oh yeah, I can implement it, but I'm going to have to answer to the press and whoever else. It looks really bad. Throwing this woman and her kids on the street. It's like everything else. He always like when he gets Armadillo stabbed. It's Danny that gets fired.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
always someone else facing his consequences, even right to the end, which is true right to the end.
yeah. Did he ever? I think he confessed though, wasn't he? Oh no, he did not confess. Did he confess to the knife? Because remember, there came a point where it came between Danny and pretty much Vic. All Vic had to do was, and I can't. Oh, it was Aceveda. Aceveda said, he said, yeah, last chance. Well, it's a shame. Danny was a good cop,
Mm.
and no, never mind. I don't think he was gonna fold. Yeah, I remember it now. He wasn't gonna fold at all. He was just like, hey.
Yeah, it's like, well, if you've got anything to volunteer, any information to volunteer me, on the subject, go ahead, go right ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely. I don't think at any point, Vic was ever going to sacrifice himself, like you said. I don't think there ever was going to be a sacrifice from him. It's kind of questionable, in that season 2, when they give him the knife. Oh, I'm sorry, were they with Armadillo? I mean,
Mm.
yeah, with the whole thing with Armadillo, when he burns Armadillo, and then he says, hey, I'm gonna take the hit. This is on me. I still believe that was probably one of the only times that, he was gonna take the hit for the team. I know you felt differently on that, but
Yeah, I took a more cynical view myself, and I saw it more as this is him manipulating. He might have done if it really come to it, but I saw him as more pushing pushing the guy's buttons so that like Shane and Lem's buttons, so he's saying to them, you need to put your heads together to get me out of trouble now.
Yeah, so basically speaking indirectly.
Yeah. He didn't want to. I think he was maybe a bit of bravado that he didn't want to beg for help and say, "Look, guys, help me! I'm in trouble. I'm going to go down for it."
Yeah. Yeah, man. You know, again, and I know we were just talking about that season one, and I'll just say this last piece on as far as the other seasons, but um, remember his back wasn't against the wall at that point, so I don't think there would have been a reason to, for him to want to put that kind of pressure on his team, to bail me out, bail me out of this situation or out of the circumstance. I think he really was willing to take it because at that moment, it did just fall back on him. It didn't fall back on the team. It didn't fall back on Kareem. It fell back on him. So I don't think that. Yeah, I think that was one of the only times, if not the only time, where he was kind of wholehearted about it.
Mm,
About taking one for the team.
mm. No, I don't feel.
No, you're not buying it.
Not me. No, I don't.
Yeah, man, I guess I would have been right there with him, man, passing that knife to the dude in the cell, man. Like, yo, I can't let Vic go out like that, man. Like, yo, man, he's gonna. That's all we got, man. We can't let our guy go out like that, But hey, man, shoot, hey, tomato, man. It's maybe we'll probably break that down a little bit more in season two, or when we talk about season two.
Yeah. Yeah. So you wanna take a break or?
Yeah. We'll take a break, man. Yeah, break time.
Yeah. Cool, man. All right. I'll speak to you in a while.
Okay, all right.
All right.